Ask an Autism Parent, and you can join me live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, live on Facebook. We are also on YouTube, and we have a number of podcasts that we do as well. So you can listen to us every Thursday to learn tips, meet other parents, and share your insights. I can't wait to talk about it, but first we have a quick video from our sponsor. The video this week is actually replaced by the Corona, What is the Corona ebook. If you want a copy of our free ebook, all you have to do is in the group chat section now, please write the word ebook so that we can get that ebook off to you. This ebook is fun. The little germs are like little monsters, and it has places in the back for you to write when they go back to school and what to expect and what's going on. So you can actually personalize it for your child. So again, type the word ebook in the comments section to receive a coronavirus printable social story. Now I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I'm so excited. We're doing advocacy again this week with Bridget. Bridget, and I know I'm going to get this wrong, even though I asked her 5 times. Kaya?
That's okay. Kate.
Kate? Okay.
Yes.
Bridget Kate has a bachelor's degree in both special education and history and a master's degree in special education. She holds 2 certifications in elementary education, grades 1 to 6, and moderate special needs, pre-K to 9. She has 22 years of experience and lives in Central Mass with her husband and 2 college-age children. Well, welcome, Bridget. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
I think the biggest part of today in IEPs is so many parents don't realize that they can have an advocate for an IEP.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing that people, if there's one thing we could say to them, would probably be, you can get an IEP. Or an advocate for an IEP.
Right. Right. And an advocate doesn't necessarily need to be someone who's paid. Right. It can be a friend who comes in. Parents are allowed to have anyone that they feel will support them and that knows their child to come in to the meeting with them. And I think that's really important for parents to know.
Especially in situations where, and I know we have a couple, the children live with the grandparent as well as the parent. The grandparent is a great resource. Don't put them out just because they're not mom or dad.
Right. Absolutely. Anyone who knows your child and can help you in that meeting and be an advocate, but also a support for the parent or the guardian is really beneficial. You have to know the personality, though. Exactly. Some people are more helpful at meetings than other people.
Yep. So do IEPs benefit from a parent being an advocate for their child during it?
Well, a parent is always an advocate for a child. It's sort of what we were given when we, gave birth to these kids. They certainly do. I think the more information you have, the more empowered you feel, and the more you can know that you're an equal part of that team. There's no hierarchy on the team. In fact, if there were a hierarchy on the team, it would float to the parents because they have signing approval. So I think that the more that you advocate and know what, not so much going in as an advocate, but going in knowing your child's strengths and your child's areas of concern. And it depends on the stage you are. If you're an initial eval, if you're just at the start of this, then that takes a different kind of advocacy than someone who's had 4 years on an IEP. So you've kind of gone through things. But each stage of growing comes with, a new piece of information that it becomes more important.
Right. And you use that one part in the beginning that I kind of want to get into is signing power. So many people don't understand what that word means.
Right. So you have signing power in that once the IEP is drafted or is given, the proposed IEP is sent to you for your permission to sign. It's important that you look over the IEP and it says what the team meeting said it would say. It provides the services that you decided as a team. then there's a couple of pages that will be sent that'll have highlighted and, sticky note tabs on the side, sign here and return within 30 days. Really take that time and read through and make sure if they said they were going to provide occupational therapy services in a pullout, then that should be on a certain part of the grid. And accidentally, maybe they put it on a different part of the grid. Some advocates or some parents will immediately say, I reject this IEP because there's an error. And you have that power to do it. I would say, cautious of using that power. To continue to have a relationship with the team. If I saw an error on an IEP, I would call the team leader who are, in charge of the meeting and say, there was this error on it. Did I misunderstand? Was this really what we decided at the team? Or was it human error and it was put in the wrong spot? And can we get in touch with OT and see if maybe it was, and then have it fixed and then send me a new proposal? That's always better than just rejecting. Or even partial rejecting, because it saves your relationship. These are relationships that you'll have. If your child has early intervention, then they're in this relationship and still has needs after, at age 22, you're looking at a 19-year relationship. So it's always better to go in with an honest one and not an adversarial one, which I think sometimes we do have signing power, but we can't let that power go to our head because we're still a part of a team. And so it's still good to really reach out and talk to the district.
Now, what should I know?
But having said that, the school can't start services until they receive a signed IEP, either partially signed saying, I accept everything except the OT services. If you come and they say, no, I think we were right, I think you misunderstood, and you still feel pretty good about your, what you want. Signing that IEP is still really important so that your child gets the services.
Right. And that is the biggest thing. The quicker they get the IEP done, the quicker your child gets services, which is why so many schools and teachers now use what you referred to earlier, the proposed IEP. They kind of use a generalized form and they input things they know about your child. And it's kind of an outline. It does not have to be the IEP, but in many cases...
Well, the proposed IEP does have to be the IEP. The proposed IEP is the IEP that they send to you for signature. A draft IEP, which may say draft on it, would be given to you at the meeting. Some schools do it and some schools don't. Some states want it, some states don't. So that's why just the whole world of special education is so different border to border. But the proposed IEP is the one the proposed IEP is the one that the school district signs in Massachusetts. And so that's the one the school district is saying, this is the IEP. A draft IEP isn't signed by anyone. It's just a draft. It's sort of a helpful format to guide the meeting. And so that you can see concretely. I like to have a draft IEP. I like to know what they're saying and where they're saying it on the IEP.
And you learn more about your child seeing the draft. You're seeing where the teacher thinks they are. And you're like, well, I don't see that at home. So he is further than I thought. Or
right. Because an IEP is also there to celebrate the yays, and to really, and how can we use that? Wow, he's good here. Why is he improving here? What is the teaching strategy you're using? Oh, you use visuals. Oh, they're not doing that in this science course or in social studies. They're not using as many visuals. Well, if they're using it in science and it's working, but they're not using it in social studies, how can we share our resources?
Right. Now I'm just going to jump to the comments section real quick because I've noticed we had a couple. Jamie says, what about utilizing the state's parent training and information center? They help teach self-advocacy skills and such, and often for free, which helps many families who are tight on money.
Absolutely. So in Massachusetts, and I know Dennis mentioned this, we have the Federation for Children with Special Needs, but the U.S. Department of Ed and the Office of Special Education, through the IDEA, which is the Individual with Disabilities Act, had mandated that each state has to have a federally funded PTI or parent training information resource center. In Massachusetts, it's Federation for Children with Special Needs. There's a a great resource that I think we can post. I'm not sure if you posted it last week. So you can just go to Georgia and find out where your training center is. For the Federation in Massachusetts, we have a call center. I work the one in Western Mass. Now I'm doing it from my house. I was going to say my bedroom, because I am answering calls or taking calls and helping parents. And that's a free resource. And parents can call as many times as they need. We can help link them to an advocate. We try our hardest to link them to a pro bono or to get, maybe a sliding scale. Those resources, what I'm finding now is parents sort of, especially in the middle of it, although my son has Asperger's, and I didn't find out about these resources until last March. And I'm a special ed teacher for 22 years, so I don't know what that says about me. But it just wasn't something that, in my world, people knew about. But now the Federation can guide you towards the Department of Disability Services, which provides so many resources for autism, families with autism. And within that, providing the resources for family with autism, they will guide you towards a family resource center like an ARC, and they can provide monies for an advocate, but they also provide respite. They provide so many services that, you just don't know what you don't know. Right. And right now with coronavirus, there's so many helpful things being thrown at us that it's just too much, and it's all becoming white noise. And so I think for people to go to their state parent training centers and start there, because so many helpful Facebook pages and websites, but start with the people who have the regulations and frankly are in on the meetings. I was in on a Zoom meeting with the Department of Ed and then another one with lawyers. And so we're really kept up to date on that. And then you can call us and we can tell you, you know what? Some of the calls we get are hard, in everyone's life is getting harder these days, but parents just want to know that they're doing the best that they can and they're doing everything they should be doing. So even as we answer these calls and we don't necessarily have the answers for them, we can't say yes exactly, because the regulations are changing every day right now with this corona process. It's very helpful for parents to say, okay, at least I know I'm doing everything I can. And that sort of lets people breathe, I think.
Right.
But those centers are absolutely worth the money, and they're free.
Now, Melinda says, I agree. Take your time and read the IEP before signing. I learned the hard way and had to schedule another IEP to amend it. I have done that. That is a headache. That is not worth doing.
Right. But you can do that. Parents can become intimidated. I got this. I have to sign 2 copies, then I have to send it back, and I only have 30 days. You know what? Nothing is on fire. Take a breath. Read through the pages. It's not information you're used to reading. And that's, I think, it becomes important when looking for an advocate, that you have someone who knows what they're looking at and can walk you through, this is important, this is kind of important, but this is really the page we want to focus on.
And Jamie brings that up more further when she says you can ask for a draft prior to the meeting. That way you can see what is being discussed before the meeting. At least that's how it is.
You can ask for anything. They don't have to necessarily give you what you've asked for. So again, it's that border. It depends on what district you're in, even within the same state.
So, now we have a mom whose child recently got diagnosed at 3 years old, and she's wondering, how does an IEP work? They're going into pre-K, so they are new to everything.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that. So how does an IEP work? So your child has the diagnosis from a doctor, and then you would contact the school and share that information and request further assessment, or with that 3-year-old request to meet and go over the assessments that you have. And within that, from that will either be, yes, you have qualified for special education, this disability is impacting your learning, or a 504 plan, which, I mean, we're going to get muddy if we start talking about those two, but those would be the 2 conversations that you would have. But absolutely, even right now, I know in Massachusetts, timelines are still in, IEPs are still being, called. So we are still having IEP meetings through Zoom, and schools still have to provide FAPE. So for the 3-year-old, I would get in touch with the school principal, the special ed director.
She was evaluated from a doctor, and they were contacted by the school district.
Okay.
A 504 plan, pretty much I was always told there's 2 distinctions. An IEP is for a diagnosis, and then 504 is for not necessarily such a strict diagnosis.
Well, you can have autism. You can have a diagnosis on both. Neither one is prescriptive. Neither one tells you have a diagnosis. It's just how is your disability impacting your education. And one carries more regulation weight than the other, but they both carry regulation weight. If a 504 isn't followed, there's an avenue to go about making sure. But that neither one are just diagnosis or descriptive of that. So I think because at 3 years old, want to make sure that you're going in and being honest and saying that, you know what, this is the beginning of our beautiful relationship I'm going to have with this school district. And you're going to have it with the district because special ed directors can come and go. Yep. Special ed teachers, you're going to go from school to school and principal to principal, but if you stay in the school, you're going to stay in that district. And so to start the relationship with honesty and say, this is, what can we do? How can I help? I think that sort of glides into how to prepare for an IEP meeting. Does that make sense, Jen?
Yeah.
So Dennis talked last week about how we've created binders for each of our students. And we got that through understood.org, which is a wonderful website and has incredible resources, and it's understood.org. And we sort of followed there. I'm going to get my son's. So you just have a regular binder, and I got permission from my son to do this. I like to put information on the cover, not just for me, but for the people at the table, so that we sort of have that reminder of this is not about the IEP pages, it's about the child. And a couple of things, you could have your kids draw something to put in this sheet, but I think it's important that it's child-centered, and having a binder kind of grounds everyone to the child-centered part. And then in the binder, I usually keep a bag that has extra pens because you go to these IEP meetings and you're frazzled to begin with. And so having this binder just kind of helps you get out of your car, frankly. And so I'll keep some information in here. These are kind of the tabs. I have a communication tab. So if I get emails that I think are important, I'll print them and put them in here. I would also put a list of all of the teachers and their emails and their phone numbers, how the best to get in touch with them, kind of write something up about that. And then evaluations. What's important about all of these documents is I get a sticky tab and write the date. I got that idea from a wonderful friend at the call center, Chandler, and write the date on everything. So it'll look really full and really heavily dated, but you want to be able to open it up. If someone at the meeting might say, you know what, I think OT discharged services. And you can say, could you tell me what date that was? And you can go into your eval, you can pick up the date, you can say, nope, that's not what this report is saying. Or you can say, yes, why didn't, so it really holds everyone accountable.
Right.
We also have IEPs, and I keep at least the last 3 IEPs in. Progress reports and report cards. Work samples can become important. Behavior plans that are referenced in an IEP, but may not necessarily be in the IEP. Behaviors, if you get called to come and get your child a lot of, every day, you're going to want to put that in behaviors and kind of document. Medical, if your child has medical concerns, and then outside services. Some of us have ABA come to the house or speech come to the house, or particularly when you're going from early intervention, where that's all in the home, to now you have to give up, and give up that trust and give your baby to the school. You want to be able to have that so you can just take it in one chunk.
Right.
But it shouldn't be overwhelmingly full. It should have the last 2 assessments. or 2 rounds. Does that make sense, Jen?
Oh, yes. I'm just going to run to the questions real quick. Becky
All right,
Ann
great.
says, just a note to Bridget, you are awesome, from Becky.
Becky.
And just to address something that I saw earlier and missed, Riley, hello, I love you too. Be good for Mom.
I saw that.
We're
She's
trying to think of ways with this whole world being a mess. She's really stressed about being physically apart from us, even being a room away. So we gave her an old phone with Facebook Messenger.
Yep.
And
that's great.
Now she's on Facebook, but everyone's like, do you mind? Do you mind? I'm like, I completely control everyone she's friends with. So it's her grandparents, her aunts and uncles, mom and dad, and her siblings.
It's teaching socialization.
And she's sitting there and she's going, Mom, someone was really upset about this. And I'm like, yes, that's an emotion we don't understand. Let's go through this. So I've used it as the most unconventional teaching tool ever.
It's fabulous. That is fabulous.
So yes, I'm using Facebook as a teaching tool, folks, but I'm desperate.
Hey, I think that's wonderful. Good for you. We all have to think outside the box.
We do. And in this time, I mean, it's not the time to be perfect and have everything sitting there. It's just not the time. We're working from home. We're still raising our families. We're still having to cook and clean every day. And then add on to it, we have our children
every day.
Every day. And Bridget, like, yours are older, but it's still, my 16-year-old is still every 5 minutes. Are you in the kitchen again?
Right. Mine are taking classes. My son was studying abroad in Ireland up until March 12th when we had to carry him home. So now he's studying abroad in Ireland with a different time. So there's a 5-hour difference, and they do military time. I'm completely confused, and I am saddened that I didn't pay attention to delay to time in class.
Riley and I go to bed between 12 and 2, so I completely get it. I can probably do a course in a different country right now.
Do you want me to talk a little bit about during an IEP meeting?
Sure. I'm just trying to get to this And
we're going to collect all of these questions, right? And then have a time on maybe the 4th week?
Well, these will still be, yes, I'll explain that later.
Yeah.
But
all right, good.
Don't worry, we won't lose this. I want to address Rachel Peterson. I know, Angela, you had a question before, but Rachel, sadly, I'm unable to watch the live right now. I have been through my own IEPs, so I know a little bit. With my son, we have been having issues. His last school did not offer in-school services, and academically, he does not have many needs, so they wouldn't do an IEP. But we just recently moved from Virginia to Illinois. He started his new school about 2 weeks before everything started, and his intake IEP meeting was set for a week after the schools here closed. So that is not happening now. And he, of course, can't give him services because they cannot complete the IEP without being able to do the testing needed. I don't know how to advocate for him during these changing times. Can we address that a little bit, Bridget?
Yeah, so did she say that he had an IEP in Virginia?
No, he was not. He did not qualify in Virginia.
Okay.
Because he doesn't have so many academic needs.
Right. You could still ask that the IEP meeting take place. Assessment is another thing. But part of the assessments, particularly if it's not an academic, you could do the behavior rating scales without, it's going to be tricky, but parents could do a behavior rating scale, either the Basque or the Connors or both, with their pediatrician or with the school system. And you could possibly, if you're still in contact with Virginia, maybe have the sending teacher also, because at least you have someone who has experience with him. And then you have those documents to go off of. And they most likely have assessments from Virginia. So you could have a assessment review meeting to see if the assessment, if it's done soon enough, if the assessments aren't too old, that the school needs to consider, which is sort of a key word. They don't have to follow what any other assessment is done besides their own. But at this stage in the game, people are considering these things, because we still have morals, and we still want to provide a child with what they need. And so I think contacting the school in Illinois and asking them what you can do, even asking for a Zoom meeting with the special ed director, because an email can either sound too or too laid back, but a Zoom face-to-face, you get a feeling for, all right, is this special ed director really listening to me? Right, you can tell the tone
of the visit of the
call. Right. And so I think that can be really important.
Yes.
Jamie, I'll be interested to see what recording Zoom meetings, if that comes into play.
I think it's coming.
For an IEP meeting.
I think it's going to be coming soon. With everything changing, they're going to realize that it would benefit.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, I would love the idea of a recorded Zoom meeting, because then I can go back and I can look at so-and-so said this, and this. We can have these reference points. So, yes.
You can ask to record meetings. You can ask for anything.
See, not here.
But you can ask for anything. Whether they will do it or not is, you may not get the answer you want, but you can ask.
Exactly. Jamie went back to what you said and what I always do. She had a mission statement about her son, including his picture, his strengths, his goals, and what he was working towards, and what works best for him on the cover of his binder. Yeah. Guys, these binders, it doesn't have to be a binder. I use a folder, but again, I had the picture. I made sure I did not use child. I did not use she. It was always Riley. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to know that I was there, not for them, but for Riley.
Right.
Jennifer Smith says, Bridget has made such a difference in my children's lives. My family loves her. My children are now getting their educational needs met. Also a great parenting training. And Vivian says, Bridget is the best. She is amazing.
Oh, I have a fan club. I love them too.
So we have a few minutes left. Why don't you go, like we were talking, you were going to do a minute ago.
Okay, into the IEP meeting?
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, but I think some important things are, when you go into the meeting and you have your binder, there'll be a sign-in. So the attendance sheet that you should have gotten with your meeting invitation will be presented, and everyone will sign that they're there. If someone needs to not be present at the IEP meeting, they need your permission to not have that. So that's one piece of it. But the important piece of the sign-in is, it's important for you to say when you sit down, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our teamwork. Could you tell me who's taking notes in this meeting? And that someone might say, oh, it's her or him. And say, oh, could I have a copy of those notes? Now, not every district has to provide you with a copy. Even within the same state, they may have notes to give you, or that you may just have the grid just with the final plan for the child. But you want to let them know, I'm going to be looking for something after this meeting. So could I have the sign-in, a copy of the sign-in and a copy of the notes? The sign-in is good so that you can help remember who said that, or who was at the meeting, and what's her last name? I only know her as Miss Kim. My child only talks to her for that. So asking for the attendance sheet, asking for a copy of notes, knowing you could get it or not get it. After the meeting, while you're in the meeting, they'll introduce themselves. Some schools I've been at have put sticky notes in front of them so that you can know what their name is, because in an initial eval, there could be 8 people.
Yep.
And you. But yours equal on that meeting, as the next person. A huge piece is for an initial eval or a 3-year eval or any type of evaluation is request a copy of the evaluations before the meeting. In Massachusetts, the regulation is they don't have to give us a copy prior to 48 hours. So they have to have like 48 hours, 2 days before the IEP meeting. We're supposed to have copies of that. 2 days is not a lot of time to go into a psych eval, a sensory eval, but it's all the time they give you. And it's certainly much better than walking in and being handed the notes. And now you have to hear and read and understand. So ask for the reports beforehand. Again, you can ask for anything. And as long as you do it in a nice way, they can respond and say, regulations, we don't have to, or we hadn't thought of that. Yes, we'd love to. Or in this case, it makes sense. Just to dry throat. Hold on one. I'm not going to get rid of this tickle. Sorry.
You're fine.
So I think after the meeting, this is awful. Hold on one sec. You should email the school with your notes and just say, these are my notes. This is my understanding. Am I in the right, do you need to correct me? Am I in the right way? Just so everyone has the same information. If the school district doesn't respond to your notes and you've emailed them to them, then those notes lie. Those notes are the ones that you go off of. If something was wrong in your email and they reply, then you modify things.
Right.
But it's always important to share your notes. And again, it's that good faith.
Now, I have an interesting question that I never thought of. Can you exclude anyone from the district for an IEP meeting?
I'm not sure. Again, I'm sorry. That gets tricky. And I know that sometimes team leaders and parents can get off on the wrong foot. So it's always better to try figure out, why do you want to exclude them? You can certainly exclude them if they have no interaction with your child and they're not there to be a part of your child's education. You have every right. If you come into the meeting and maybe there's a lawyer there and that lawyer has nothing to do with the child's education, you can ask for them to leave, whether they do or not. But the people on the team should be there for a reason. And that's, again, why the sign-in is important. Because you have to say parent, you have to say special ed teacher.
Right.
You can't just say guy and vote.
Designation and every.
Right. And it gives you, if you're uncomfortable with that meeting, if you're ever in a meeting and you're uncomfortable with it, you can stop the meeting. You can say, at this time, I need to and it's not a bad thing to do.
I've done it. I've walked out of.
But if you're at that pace, if you're at that place, excuse me, if you're at that place and you're feeling that way, that's the time you need an advocate.
Yep.
Because your belly's in it.
We were there with Riley when she was in preschool, and I'm telling you, folks, I literally stood up in the middle of the meeting. My husband was on speakerphone. He was away for work. He goes, "What are we doing?" I said, "We're walking out." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he goes,
"Did you pick up the phone and charge out?"
Well, I said, because they're sitting here denying services that she received 3 weeks prior, but then they changed it because.
Right. But do you see what I'm saying? That's the point where maybe it's time to get an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And an advocate doesn't have to jump in with both feet. They can be there for the team meeting. You can say, you know what? I just can't face this woman face to face. Can I hire you to come into this meeting to, my gut's in it. Help me see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Now we have, why would a lawyer even be present in the first place? Generally, they won't be. Some school districts, I have heard, sometimes do hire a lawyer for meetings just in case, pretty much to protect the school.
Mostly if you're going for an out-of-district placement.
Yes.
Where the money is going to become more substantial.
But with a preschool, you're going into preschool, you just got the diagnosis. You don't have to really worry about lawyers.
Right. And you'll get a copy of the, or you should be getting a copy with the invitation, will be the sign-in sheet. Mm-hmm. So you'll know who's going to be at the table. And if you get there and say, geez, I only have 5 names here, what are 7 people doing?
Yep.
Then this meeting is been misled.
Someone on you that you weren't expecting.
Right.
Jamie says, in my experience, when parents have asked for certain staff not to be in attendance, they have had a lot of resistance. Since we can invite anyone, they have said they can invite who they want, except when it comes to lawyers, you can refuse to go further with a meeting with a lawyer there. Well, there's a lot in there. I have requested a staff not be part of her IEP meeting. The teacher was found to be neglecting my child. And I set up for her to move to a different classroom, which would be full day instead of only 2.5 hours a day. So we needed a complete new IEP. Well, they're like, oh, her old teacher is going to be writing her IEP for her new classroom. I got up and walked out because the old teacher didn't like me because I actually had the police called on her because she didn't know where my daughter was for over 20 minutes. Right. And she was alone and 3 years old.
So again,
I had my reasons.
Right, but sometimes those are the people you want to have sit in that meeting and hear what's going to be the new plan.
Well, we just kind of got the new teacher to come in.
Yeah. Every situation is different.
This would not have been a time where niceties were used.
Right.
I'm just getting through. Melinda says that she finds it helpful when signing in if everyone can print their first and last name, then their signature. I agree, because sometimes all I get is a signature and you're like, that was who now?
Well, usually in Massachusetts, ours are typed up. So their name is typed and they're just initialing.
Oh, see, here you have to write your job title and your name.
Yeah. And here you just have to initial for some places. And maybe you could request, you can request anything. You can say at the meeting, thank you for this, but could you rewrite your name, please? You could say that at the beginning of the meeting. That's just nicety. And they want you to know who they are.
And that you just want to know who they are for the future of your child. If they're in an IEP, they're obviously going to be a big part of your child's life.
Right. And I don't want to be addressing speech and refer to the OT teacher because I couldn't read what she wrote.
Right.
So you just want to make sure all parties are documented.
I'm looking. We'll deal with that one later. Folks, don't worry if you have IEP 504 questions. Bridget and I will get to them later this month. We just had a discussion before the show about maybe changing week 4 to do more on IEPs if we have enough people. If you want to talk more about IEPs, go in our Facebook group and make posts about it there. Comment on a post about it. That way we see.
And I'll keep checking these comments.
Yes.
I can keep checking these comments and we can post the state training centers.
These will be on the live video. So guys, if you did message on here and you see someone replied to you and it was Bridget, she's just trying to get you the correct information if she can.
Yep.
So I want to thank all of you for joining us. Bridget, thank you especially. I think this was something that we really needed to break down and look at. Jamie, the Facebook page is called Lackey Kid, LAKIKID. That is our Facebook page. And on their Facebook page, you will see the link for the Facebook support group where you can come and be supported by other parents with no judgment. Trust me, I post in there and sometimes it's 2 a.m. So
right.
There is no judgment. But thank you all for joining us. I will be back.
Thank you very much.
Week. Again, we're doing a whole month on advocacy.
I'll be back.
Yep, you'll come back soon. And we'll talk to Bridget some more about more IEP stuff probably. Thank you, Riley. Mommy did a good job. I'm happy.
Oh.
So everyone have a great week. I will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, remember, empower, support, educate. Bye.
Bye.